What's up, guys? Mike here, back again with our second installment of the division by division draft grades. Right now, we are going with the AFC East. We did the AFC North a couple of hours ago. If you haven't gotten a chance to see that, go check that out. Then come back here. Yeah, for those of you who are just checking this out for the first time, we're going to go through every single division, team by team, pick by pick. So we're going to do the Jets, then the Bills, then the Dolphins, then the Patriots. We're going to go through all of their picks in a row. Then we're going to give them an overall draft grade. So in case you need a refresher on the grading scale, this is based off of where they were picked, where I had them ranked, need, and then players that weren't on my board unless given a special consideration were graded a C. That's further ado, let's get into this. Number 6 for the New York Jets, they went with Jamal Adams, who was my second graded player. I gave it an A+. Listen, I didn't expect him to be there. I fully expected him to go off the board either to Chicago or to San Francisco. At very worst, I thought he was maybe going to go number 5 overall to the Titans. They had even said to Jamal Adams in their visit with him, "You're not going to make it to us," and he did. And I think that it was great on them to show that hey, we didn't think he was going to be there, but he's there. So we're not whatever we had planned before, that goes out the window, and we get one of the best players in this class. So I gave it an A+. They followed that up, however, in round 2 with Marcus May at 39. I graded him as my 93rd overall player. I gave this a C-. I think they double-dipped on really the same position. I think they're both strong safeties, and it didn't really make any sense. So I gave it a C-. I didn't think that this was a really good pick. I think a lot of people in the media are really hyping this up, but I mean, I've talked to a couple of people that I know, and we both agree, hey, this doesn't make any sense because they got 2 of the same position in back-to-back rounds in rounds 1 and 2. Bad pick, gave it a C-. At 79, they went back and got our Darius Stewart out of Alabama, the wide receiver. They couldn't go into a season with Robbie Anderson as their number 2 receiver. That makes no sense. Getting our Darius Stewart, who's a good playmaker, just underutilized in the passing game at Alabama, makes a ton of sense here. Gave it an A-. Double dipped again, came back 141. They kept trading back. Got Chad Hansen out of Cal. I graded him as my 101st overall player. Kind of that 3rd or 4th receiver that you can utilize. I like the pick. I gave it a B+. At 150, Jordan Leggett, the tight end / H-back out of Clemson. He was my 91st overall player. Listen, the Jets haven't had a tight end in a long time, probably since Dustin Keller. That's how long it's been. So, I mean, you're getting a guy about 60 picks after he should have come off the board. Give him an A-. At 181, Dylan Donahue, a pass rusher. Again, I hadn't heard of him. He wasn't on my board. But given the players that were still available at edge, this pick did not make a lot of sense to me. There were still names on the board. Carroll Phillips, Dietrich Wise, Brian Cox. I believe Avery Moss was still available at that point. Just picks that didn't really, that would have made a lot more sense at the position than some FCS guy that a lot of mainstream media guys were low on anyways, so I gave it a D. 188, they came back, got Elijah McGuire, running back out of Louisiana, Lafayette, ULL, Raging Cajuns. Kind of my thought process with this is they're going to groom him to be what Matt Forte is, that pass-catching back. I don't think he's got any future as far as being an every down back like Matt Forte, but I think they can use him in ways to help kind of keep Matt Forte healthy, so I like the pick. I gave it a B+. Then they finished off their picks with 2 long, rangy corners. I'm just going to say them together. Derek Jones and Jeremy Clark, both corners, both big. Both guys I didn't have on my board, so they both got graded a C. So to review their grades, they got an A+, a C-, an A-, a B+, A-, D, B+, and 2 Cs, which when you tabulate that together is a C overall. Next, we have the Buffalo Bills, and they did not have a lot of picks in this draft. So let's get right into it. At 27, after trading back, they get Tre'Davious White. I gave it a B. He was my 29th overall player. I liked the pick. I think, again, Sidney Jones was sitting there. I know he's probably not going to play early for you, but you needed to replace Stephon Gilmore, and Sidney Jones was the best corner sitting there, so I gave it a B. I didn't include the value for trading out of the top 10 to get, to let Kansas City get Patrick Mahomes. If you added that in, that's probably getting this up to about an A- because they got extra picks from it, but I just Tre'Davious White over Sidney Jones, even with the injury, is still something I can't accept. Zay Jones goes 37th. I had him rated 43rd. This is your replacement, I guess, for Robert Woods. I know that they need an extra playmaker beside what's his name, Sammy Watkins. I like the pick. I don't hate it, but I just thought it was kind of a bleh pick. I wasn't really sure where they were going to go, but I didn't expect wide receiver to be a priority that early in the draft, so I gave them a B for it. At 63, getting Deion Dawkins out of Temple. He was my 39th rated player. Listen, Chantrell Henderson, I believe, is suspended. They've got some other right tackle I don't remember who he is. That's just how bad he was. And then, of course, Cyrus Kouandjio is going around coked out of his mind asking police to shoot him. That actually happened. That's not me making shit up. That actually happened. So they needed a right tackle. I thought Deion Dawkins was the best right tackle in this class. I had him as my 39th overall player. They got him at 63. Automatic A. Their next pick was at 163 with Matt Milano, and I had no idea who he was. He's a linebacker out of Boston College. I gave it a C. Listen, it's either going to work or it's not. 171, Nathan Peterman out of Pitt. I had him graded 90th. I gave him a B plus for this one. Normally, I would have given it an A because that's 81 picks of value in my opinion. But, you drafted Cardale Jones last year and you have Tyrod Taylor. I'm just not sure what you're doing at the quarterback position right now. You have Tyrod Taylor, who I think is a decent starting quarterback option. Cardale Jones, I think, is a decent backup quarterback. Nathan Peterman is the exact opposite of Cardale Jones because he has no arm, whereas Cardale Jones has all of the arm. I don't see the need for a second backup quarterback, especially when, I think that getting Peterman at this point is really good. I don't understand the pick for Buffalo is what I'm trying to say. So I gave it a B plus still. And then they finished off their draft at 195. They got Tanner Vallejo, a linebacker out of Boise State. I had him graded at 212. I think that they needed some help on the linebacking core. I gave it a B. So they got B, B, A, C, B plus, B, which overall gives them a grade of a B. Next up is one of my least favorite teams in the NFL, the Miami Dolphins, but I could not hate on their draft whatsoever. At 22, they got Charles Harris. This was, in my opinion, their worst pick. I had him graded at 63, so that's a reach for me, obviously. Again, I think that there were maybe some better players still available on the board, some other positions that they could have gone as well. So I gave it a C. And then they came back round 2. They shut me up right away. They got Raekwon McMillan at 54. He was my 55th ranked player. Listen, Jelani Jenkins is not that good. Kiko Alonso has had some injury problems in the past. And, they needed some extra assurance there at linebacker. I love this pick. I think Raekwon McMillan was one of the more underhyped players in the draft. I think a lot of people, when talking about second round linebackers, went other guys before Raekwon McMillan. Just a very, very quiet, under the radar pick at 54, considering the media just kind of ignored his existence. I loved it. I gave it an A. Round 3, Cordrea Tankersley out of Clemson. They got him at 97. He was my 68th ranked player. They got a hit on one of these corner picks eventually. I gave it a B+. In whatever round this was, 164, Isaac Asiata. I had him graded at 116. Listen, they need someone in there at guard so they can kick Tunsil out to tackle. I think that they did a great job here by getting him. And, you know what? He's a big phone booth guy. Adam Gase wants to run the ball. I gave it an A. I love this pick. Devon Godchaux out of LSU, the defensive tackle. They got him at 178. I had him graded at 166. I gave this a B plus because I still think that there were better players available. I mean, Caleb Brantley was still out there. You had Vince Taylor, I believe, was still available. There were a couple of better better defensive linemen available. Speaking of Vincent Taylor, they picked him at 194. I had him graded at 119. B plus. Double dip on the defensive tackle spot. I didn't really see defensive tackle as a huge need for them, but I gave it a B plus. And then they finish off the draft at 237 by getting Isaiah Ford. I had him graded as 76, so I don't know how the fuck he was still available there at 76, but I loved the pick. I gave it an A+. So that finishes it for Miami. They got given a C, an A, a B+, an A, a B+, a B+, and an A+. Tabulate that together, that's an A- overall. As I said, Charles Harris was their worst draft pick of the weekend, and they knocked the following picks right out of the park. And then the easiest one for us to grade is New England, because they only had 4 picks, because they've been wheeling and dealing for players. Their first pick came up at 83rd overall, and they got Derek Rivers, who I had graded at 45. I loved this pick. Great pass rusher, instant impact, and you know that Matt Patricia is going to get the best out of him. I gave it an A. Came back at 85 and got Antonio Garcia out of Troy. The left tackle. I mean, they've had some weakness at left tackle. Nate Solder's been okay. And then, Vollmer retired, and they've got really weak offensive tackle play as is. Marcus Cannon's not that great. So I gave it an A. I think, again, another pick that they knocked out of the park. 131, Dietrich Wise Jr. out of Arkansas. Listen, I see Dietrich Wise the same way I saw Trey Flowers coming out of University of Arkansas. They made a very good player out of him. I think they can do the same with Dietrich Wise. I gave it a B+. And then they finished off their draft with Connor McDermott out of UCLA. They got him at 211. I had him at 149. That's an A-. So A, B+, A-. That's an A- overall. And that's going to do it for today. That's going to do it for this video, guys. As always, like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. If you guys just want to look at your specific team, timestamps are down below. And we'll be back in a couple of hours with another division, guys. Take it easy.